It's a trap!
Hello.
Hi, I'm Pat, and it's time for traps. Get out of here, Astolfo. We'll talk later. Because right now, we're going to be talking about Poison Trap and Death Trap. Two great skills we're going to use with Twisting Blades to drop a lot of grenades. Now stop me if you've heard this one, and look to the description below if you already know what this is all about. There will be a link to a build. So I guess this makes it the appropriate time to ask you to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, do all those nice things and more. Because like a lot of people are just going to look at that description and like, hey, I'm out of here, baby. Which is fine as long as it's helpful for you. Much like many rogue builds, it is very simple. We use traps to control large amount of enemies and apply debuffs, then use twisted blades to destroy everything in our path. We're going to use exposure as our key passive because it allows us to not only throw more grenades at people, it also has a chance at reducing the active cooldowns of our trap skills. That, coupled with a couple of tricks, allows us to keep things on cooldown as much as possible, allowing us to unleash our full arsenal as often as possible. So alright, let's start with our offense. Why grenades? Because of two things, Penitent Greaves and the Frostbitten aspect. Penitent Greaves essentially gives us an aura of chill and increases damage to chilled enemies, while the Frostbitten aspect allows us to snap freeze these mofos using grenade skills, but we do not need actual grenade skills, which is good because it would be awful if it only worked with smoke grenade. The good news is it works with exposure grenades, the stun grenades that drop, as well as the cluster munitions heart, which allows us to launch on a lucky hit of up to 20% 5 stun grenades. So the standard play is you drop a poison trap, then a death trap, have death trap pull things into the poison trap, all the while you are smacking them around. Since Penitent Greaves leaves the frost chill area behind you as you're walking away from your trap, you will likely proc your frostbitten aspect, and then boom, baby, you've got frozen enemies against which you will deal extra damage. Thanks not just to our Penitent Greaves as well as our Frostbitten aspect, but also Frozen Finesse, which does not care where the chilled or frozen state comes from. All it cares is how it can hurt people. You may be thinking, hey, that's a lot of grenades and also that's a lot of control. A stunned enemy functionally is no different from a frozen enemy in terms of them not being able to hit you and them, not attacking or moving. However, I respond with redundancy. These are all lucky hit effects and chance effects. Nothing is guaranteed, so you stack the deck in your favor as much as possible by having as many things that control the field as possible. If they're not dazed, they're knocked down. If they're not knocked down, they are pulled and stunned briefly. If they're not either of those, they are just stunned from grenades. And if you stun them with grenades, there's a chance that they'll also be frozen. It may feel like overkill, but I prefer maximum safety. I do not like walking up to places when you die. Because we're so invested in lucky hit, I also packed a Call of the Nameless, not just because I dropped it, but because I actually do think it's worth it. On Twisting Blades, for example, in which I have a 38% lucky hit, my Call of the Nameless turns that into around a 45% lucky hit, which does not seem like a lot. Plus 7% is a small number, a not exciting number. Frankly, I find the mathematics of the game critical, but not very thrilling. However, when it comes to building stuff, it is important, and so is that 7% increase, possibly a little bit more if you get a max roll. At least I am pretty sure that is how that works out when you're attacking a crowd-controlled enemy. Tooltip does not update because it is a enemy state-based effect. Our other offensive tools come with the usual suspects: Edge Master and Blade Dancer's aspect on your sword and on your crossbow, respectively. We're of course running the classic combo of Ashir's Kanjar and Accelerating aspect. Less time we spent stabbing in one place, the better. Later, nightmares get really hinky on the damage and the randomness, and you're not even taking lag into account at that point. It's just a nightmare. Insert segue here, and that's why I used a preparation instead of inner sight when not dealing with bosses. Every 100 energy you spend reduces your ultimate skill's cooldown by 5 seconds. Using an ultimate skill resets the cooldown of your other skills. The thing is, with inner sight, it's neat. It's great. It's great for like piling on the damage on one target. But when you're piling on the damage on one target with twisted blades, or twisting blades rather, you are staying still. And generally, when you're staying still, you are getting killed. Even with all our control, even with all our knockdown, there are things that are not going to be in the range of our traps, like, these quill rats that are annoying me. This, coupled with exposure, allows us to, get maximum uptime on our ultimate, the death trap, and also our poison trap. Generally, I like doing 3-4 or poison trap into death trap, even if I'm, poison trap is on cooldown, because I'm not always going to be looking at my bar. Maybe I should move my monitor back. Being able to use our ultimate, death trap, on many encounters allows us to keep 2 very important buffs up. no witnesses on our Paragon board, and a trap mastery. No witnesses gives us an absurdly long 10% increased damage buff as well as buffing our ultimate skill's damage, and trap mastery increases our critical strike chance against vulnerable and crowd controlled enemies. However, I have found this a little inefficient for bossing, which is weird for me to say as a rogue player. So, when a boss is around, use Inner Sight and bring him down. Nothing in a game is restricting you from changing your build mid-dungeon. So before you hit the boss arena, just hit Shift-C, at least that's Shift-C on my keyboard, and change from Preparation to Inner Sight. Following up on that, the rest of our offense is full of the usual suspects, such as Trick Attacks, Concussive, Exploit, and Malice. There's more, but I want to talk about Exploit for a little bit. Tend to gravitate towards longer lasting barber effects, 4 seconds rather than the 2 seconds, although there's an argument to be made for the shorter barber effect. Since I'm more for the longer barber effect, I am going to go with Max Exploit. You can still do that with a 2-second barber, but I feel that I get more value out of it with a max duration barber, so you can put those 2 points somewhere you like. Since we are running traps, positioning is key, and I have a very smooth brain, and sometimes I feel like being a ninja, so I use Shadow Step and Dash. Both are fine escapes, don't get me wrong. And Shadow Step as printed currently has a 114% lucky chance, which, okay. I like to dash in, drop my traps, and then evade out. Something that Rapid Gambits allows. Which is important because our boots, the Penitent Greaves, do not actually have evade cooldown on attack. They have extra move speed on dash, I think. And even if you weren't as, brazen as I am when playing this rogue, you do want that evade up as often as possible to stay alive. For our paragons, the rest of it is also mostly offense, such as Cheap Shot and Exploit Weakness, which is of course rounded up with Ambush, Combat, and Exploit the Glyph. Okay, now it's time to talk about our support crew as well as our defense. So for one of our rings, we have the Umbral Aspect, which gives us primary resource when we crowd control an enemy. And that's great, because when we're walking beside them, they get crowd controlled, and we apply multiple instances of crowd control, from stuns, to freezes, to chills, to knockdowns. And lo, how can we leave home without the aspect of disobedience? We're also running the Heart of Revenge. I want to say it's Heart of Revenge. I think that's it, just sounds cooler, which reduces 20% of incoming damage and lets you blow it up, which is, negligible damage, but it's still extra damage that could be popping onto your barber. Since we are running with the Almighty Puncture, we are also running with the Adventurer's Pants of Might, or just the Aspect of Might. I read that wrong. Basic skills granting us immense damage reduction for up to 6 seconds is pretty good, especially since you don't actually need to hit somebody with those daggers. And since nobody comes into our town without a CC applied to them, the Cheats aspect is also great because it reduces damage from crowd control enemies as well as increasing our move speed when we do get hit by crowd controlled enemies. We're also running a few classics such as Innervation, Siphoning Strikes, and Sturdy. Additionally, we're also running Consuming Shadows because apparently the Barber explodes in shadow damage, not that you would know it from the description. So Barber explosions can also give you energy. The absolute last bit of our defense comes from 2 more glyphs, Closer and Turf. Since we're always wielding a melee enemy, Closer is active all the time as, and it also gives us a tiny bonus to our Cutthroat skill, Twisting Blades. And Turf increases damage against and increases damage reduction against close enemies. But of course, we need some sustain. But of course, Siphoning Strikes. Lucky hit critical strikes against close enemies have up to 85% chance to heal you for 50% of your maximum life. Not the best, especially since it's lucky hit now, but still it is our only source of sustain, and it is nice to have. Just don't rely on it. Sturdy is just straight up close damage reduction. Generally, the mindset I have when I'm playing this guy is just set and take an area. This is where my traps are, this is where the monsters die. However, we are still a melee character, and that's very dangerous, especially at higher stuff, especially if you took on a mod that makes monsters mad as you kill their compatriots. Combine that with my urge to just play, brazenly, and I'm gonna die a lot. I tried to play safe. I tried to be smart, but sometimes I just want to play dynamic, And that's not necessarily the smartest way to play it. So play tactically, use traps to enter an engagement, and if you don't have Death Trap or, at the bare minimum, Poison Trap up, reconsider diving in. You can survive. It is still at its core a Twisted Blades build, and you still have Dash as well as Shadow Step. However, without the imbues, it loses a bit of its potency. So while you can get away with some nonsense, you are not gonna get away with all of it. Pictured above. There you go. Anyway, that's it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave a comment below and I will try to get back to you. And by try, I mean I will. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I will repeat the thing I said at the start, which is, if you enjoyed the video, if you liked it, if you laughed a little, like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, do all those nice things and more. I would appreciate it. It would help me out a lot. I am Patinator and I will see you later.